Coming up this week on The Travel Show.
Going wild in Kenya as some of the locals head out on safari for the very first time.
We are more excited, and now we can afford the rates. That's why we are here.
Walking Romania from the comfort of your own home.
Let's go visit the Knights Hall together then.
As the world slowly reopens, our global guru Simon is back with advice on when and how to book.
My passport hasn't seen any action all year, and I'm desperate to escape.
And we meet the builders who uncovered a fascinating glimpse into Spain's Islamic past when they renovated a restaurant in Seville.
Y lo veíamos y no se veía esta maravilla. Y ahora me encanta. Lo veo como un lugar mágico.
Hello, and welcome to Kenya's Maasai Mara, one of the best game reserves in the entire world, and for good reason. Local tourism authorities say nowhere else in Africa has wildlife this abundant. In 2020, when international tourism largely stopped, a lot of the high-end resorts had to come up with new ways to keep their rooms and their jeeps full.
There aren't many nature reserves on Earth quite as well known as Kenya's Maasai Mara.
This is the final destination every July and August for all of the creatures involved in the Great Migration from the Serengeti Plains over the border in Tanzania.
There's around 1.5 million wildebeest alone, with large numbers of zebra and antelope species joining the journey.
Can we go closer to the elephant? We want many, yeah, that would be good. This is wild, guys. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 11. 11 lions. Yes. This is wild. They're just looking at us like, what are you doing here? It's only 7:30. And is it your first time on safari?
Yes?
Yeah.
Ah, okay. And how do you feel being on your first safari?
Excited.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
We are more excited, and we are hoping to do this and this and again.
And so why did you come now and not before?
Just because of the high rates, and now we can afford the rates. That's why we are here.
Last year saw a huge push to attract more Kenyans to go on safari in their own country. Normally, this is an expensive trip, but prices have been dropped by almost half at some resorts. Other luxury hotels have been offering tantalizing package deals. And this is one of those places. In pre-COVID times, a stay here would put you back a little bit. But during the pandemic, there was some special deals offered to local tourists, and they've been a big hit. Which is kind of good news for the holiday makers here, right? Well, there's no doubt that they're really loving the experience, which for many has been their first time.
And how valuable has domestic tourists been during this time for you?
Very. I think we wouldn't be here without them. We do not necessarily have to discount the rate, but once you take this package, then you'll get this extra as a value addition. Okay, we would give you such a place which we charge a premium to have your meal, and tell you once you book your birthday celebration, your honeymoon, your anniversary, we'll get to set a private dinner out here for you at an extra charge. We'll get to give you a birthday cake, a bottle of wine, So you do not really have to look at changing the rate. We are looking at getting more value for what you're paying.
But some people are beginning to ask questions about the future.
Okay, one pineapple mint for you.
Santi
I
Sana.
spilled a little bit.
No worries.
What happens when borders reopen and the wealthy foreigners start returning? Harriet's a Kenyan travel writer, and she sees trouble ahead.
If the prices go high again, I think these hotels will not have learned their lessons. I think the COVID experience should have taught them a lesson in that they would have made fair prices. We don't need to use them when we are down and then dump them when the things are good. There are some who would have learned from the lessons, probably some who would have diversified, understood the Kenyan market, what they liked, because there's no sense of you offering what you're offering for international market when our taste buds are different. Let's say food. Some of those small, simple things, you know, that makes me know that you really understand me and you have learned about my culture and you appreciate me. Even the social media pages, you know, it will make a difference having a Kenyan or black people in there.
But of course, some resorts have been popular with domestic tourists for years.
This place, just on the edge of the reserve, is owned and run by Kenyans, and there's lots of locals that stay here.
It's a tented camp, without some of the frills of the more luxury resorts, but with a price tag that's much more accessible for many of us. A night here will set you back about $100, and that's around 70 pounds.
Jackson.
Yes.
Hey, it's beautiful here.
Welcome, sir, and have a seat.
So how have things been since the pandemic started here?
Business has been very difficult, Mike, during the pandemic time, because given that the country was on total lockdown, that meant the tourist sector, we got no business. We were operating on nil.
Are you seeing more Kenyans exploring their own country?
Oh yes, Kenyans have changed their attitude towards traveling, and they are already increasing their travel to Maasai Mara and the other parts of the country. This is called the sausage tree.
A sausage
It's
tree.
not the season for the sausages.
These grow on
Yes,
here?
yes.
Like, wow.
Yeah.
No wonder it's called the sausage tree.
Mm.
Do you ever think about what happens next when international tourism does come back and these resorts lift their prices again? Will the Kenyans be pushed out?
It will not be fair to the Kenyan market. They would need to consistently maintain that package that they're given them during the hard times. They also have options of looking for the hotels that have been consistent, like us, who are maintaining a rate for them, a good package for them.
Evening in the Maasai Mara. It's beautiful, a time of day when us Canadians are interested in only one thing.
I can't help it. I see a fire, I want to tend to it. It's in my blood. Canadians love campfires. Look at this. Let me show you some of my photos.
You might recall Isaac and Jacqueline from earlier, who kindly let me join their game drive. It was their first time ever seeing Kenya's wildlife.
Many people have been coming to Mara, but we have been seeing the migration through the televisions. And one day I told my husband that we should plan to come to Maasai Mara. But my husband was like, oh, the problem is the rates. They might be too high for us, so we cannot afford. So that's when, after the COVID-19, when it came, our friend came to Sienna Springs, and they told her that the rates are affordable, so we decided to come and see the Mara.
And how do you feel about the future here, knowing that tourism is opening back up again?
Yes, the future might maybe be bright when the hoteliers themselves consider the local tourists.
They do care more about the local tourists. They are treating us just the same like the international tourists, and we feel more different.
If they treat me like a white person, I'm just okay and feel nice.
For most of us, it'll still be a few more months before we're comfortably able to book those flights and head away for the holidays. In the meantime, though, we're trying to show you the best digital travel experiences you can have on the web.
Well, how about being transported back to 16th century England to see King Henry VIII's favorite warship, the Mary Rose, up close? A free virtual tour allows visitors to see the wooden wreck and learn more about this iconic vessel.
They could have watched all the
For something more interactive, try heading to Romania for a virtual walking tour with a difference.
little ones in each corner, which means
The pre-recorded tours allow you to choose different things along their route as they go.
So what do you want to do?
So far, you can explore the medieval Brasov,
For this reason, of course, locals thought it was a miracle.
walk the streets of Shigaswara,
like a secret union.
or explore ancient Corvin Castle.
Let's go visit the Knights Hall together then.
Started back in 2014 and gaining popularity more recently, the Google Street Art audio tours allow you to jump on a guided tour, hit the streets, and hear the stories behind the art from around the world. With work from across the globe, this takes you to places you otherwise might not get to, even after travel restrictions are lifted. But as restrictions start to ease, many of us are starting to be able to get away from the virtual world and back out into the real world. So why not get back in tune with nature during the summer solstice at UK's Stonehenge? A nearby summer solstice festival is expected to take place live this year with a festival of celebrations beginning June 18th to 21st.
Still to come on the Travel Show.
Simon's back to help us get out on the road again, hopefully sometime soon. And we chip away at the story behind an ancient bathhouse hidden in a Spanish bar.
El Eureka, el famoso Eureka de Arquímedes, con la lucera esa que vimos la primera vez. Porque eso certificaba el baño.
So don't go away.
With travel on the horizon, people are starting to think about what's possible again. But before you book that trip you've been dreaming of, take a moment to consider what happens if something gets between you and your plans. Fortunately, Simon Calder is here to untangle all the complexities surrounding a trip this year.
If you're a loyal viewer of the Travel Show, you might be thinking, hang on, about a year ago, I'm sure he was saying, oh, it'll all be over by July, we'll have a normal summer. Well, yes, I was hopelessly over-optimistic, and the confidence we used to have as travellers has been seriously dented. For the coming months, maybe years, there'll be an awful lot of uncertainty associated with travelling abroad. But as some parts of the world at least start to emerge, even the most avowed adventurer has to accept that a journey abroad these days resembles a constantly changing obstacle course. Until the start of the coronavirus pandemic, nobody read the small print. Now, pretty much everybody does, and you will see that the big holiday companies have said, okay, we want to be as flexible as possible in order to get your booking. And so quite typically, they will let you change your destination. They'll allow you to postpone the trip, sometimes up to a few weeks, maybe even a few days before departure. You won't be able to get a cash refund if the trip is still going ahead, but you will have the peace of mind that you'll be able to enjoy the holiday at some stage in the future. Accommodation providers are increasingly flexible, and so I am booking stuff where I know that I only pay at check-in. They'll probably still want a credit card number to prove that you're serious, but please remember to cancel as early as you possibly can if you're not going to be taking it up, so that they can give it to somebody else. I'd love to say there's bargains galore out there, but while there are some really cheap deals popping up here and there, I suspect that the overall trend for the year is going to be that, well, whatever you paid in 2019, expect to pay a quarter, a third, maybe a half as much again as the airlines and the holiday companies desperately try to recoup some money. If the price of the trip you're looking at looks astronomical, I urge you to practice masterful inactivity. That simply means doing nothing, because if there are large profits being made, well, you can be sure that other travel companies are watching. They may well put in extra capacity, and that will force prices down. Don't forget to build in the cost of testing. Coming back to the UK, for example, I have to have a test before I leave and another one on arrival. And for a family, that can really start to add up. Increasingly, countries are saying, right, either we'll only allow visitors in if they've had both jabs, or if you can prove that you've been immunised, we will allow you a much easier admission, perhaps avoiding testing or needing to quarantine, which raises the question, how do you prove it? Well, here in England, for example, where I'm lucky enough to have been vaccinated, I've got a fairly flimsy piece of card to prove it. And the government is giving us a smartphone app which will hopefully allow us to cross borders. There isn't any international agreement yet, so wherever you're going, it's really important to find out what sort of proof will be acceptable. Early on in the COVID crisis, cruise ships were hotspots for the virus, and as cruising finally gets going again at scale, a lot of cruise lines are saying if you've not been fully vaccinated, you're not getting on board. And for people who cannot or choose not to be vaccinated, well, I'm afraid you could find international travel for the next few months really tricky.
Thanks, Simon. And to finish this week, we're off to Spain, where the renovation of a bar in Seville has revealed an ornate hidden treasure.
Nosotros teníamos un proyecto para rehabilitar la actividad que teníamos. Esto estaba todo cubierto, estaba enfoscado. Al picar pues, han aparecido los vestigios de los arcos de herradura y toda esta serie de cosas. La impresión pues, fue una maravilla, ¿no?
El Eureka, el famoso Eureka de Arquímedes, con la lucera esa que vimos la primera vez, porque eso certificaba el baño. Esa estrella de 8 puntas fue la primera que encontramos, era la prueba clara de que estábamos ante un espacio que funcionó como un baño. No podía ser otra cosa. Lo más destacado es la decoración que ocupa todo el baño, que eso no se conocía ni, por ejemplo, en la Alhambra. Allí se conservan baños y se conservan estructuras originales, pero no se conserva la decoración completa. Esa ha sido una sorpresa.
The recently discovered bathhouse joins several others surrounding the 12th century Islamic mosque, which was later re-established as Royal Alcazar Palace.
El baño es determinante en la manera de entender la vida, sobre todo urbana, del musulmán. Alrededor de la mezquita mayor, que es donde se encuentran estos baños recién descubiertos, se entiende que habría muchos baños. Antes de entrar a la mezquita para orar, era preceptivo el baño. Y además el baño en sí, no solo destinado a estas cuestiones relacionadas con el rezo, sino el baño en sí era un elemento singular para las relaciones sociales. Los hombres durante la mañana podrían tratar sus negocios, hasta cortarse el pelo, darse masajes, y las mujeres por la tarde. Que sepamos, en el entorno del Alcázar pudo haber perfectamente una docena.
En mi tarea ha consistido en la toma de fotogrametría. Este es un sistema que se obtiene el modelo 3D del edificio con un detalle milimétrico y a través de esos datos nosotros ya podemos desgranar la información y la estratigrafía del edificio, de ver la vida de este edificio, cómo nos está hablando. Gracias a esta información pues podemos sacar módulos de construcción, medidas, el eje del edificio, la propia volumetría del edificio completo. Sabemos cómo eran las dimensiones completas del baño.
Aquí estaba todo por descubrir. Era más un trabajo de restauración que de arqueología. De sorpresa una tras otra, de descubrir la epidermis, ¿no? La piel del edificio que estaba ahí esperando.
Si fuera un museo tendría limitaciones de horario, mientras que es un bar no hay que pagar una entrada, no hay que hacer una cola. Usted puede entrar a cualquier hora y puede ver esta maravilla que hemos descubierto. La verdad que la expectación era que no nos dejaban trabajar. Se formaron unas colas que pasaron muchísima gente.
Antes yo veníamos con amistades y lo veíamos y no se veía esta maravilla. Y ahora me encanta, lo veo como un lugar mágico.
Well, that's everything for this week. But coming up next time,
we look back at some of the strangest places we've spent the night here on the Travel Show. From Krista spending a chilly night church camping in the UK.
It is quite cold, it's quite notably quite cold. I think there's a jolly good reason that camping is usually only done during the summer. Because these old churches don't have nice central heating. But it's oddly peaceful actually. It's cold but peaceful.
To the time I didn't get much sleep in a bunker in Sarajevo, which tries to recreate some of the terror of living through the Balkan conflicts in the 1990s.
Well, the night's been a blur of pseudo half rest where I'm not really quite asleep, not really quite awake.
and remember, you can watch all our adventures on the BBC iPlayer, and we're on most social media sites as well, Instagram, Facebook, you name it, we're probably there. From me, Mike Corey, and the rest of the Travel Show team here in Maasai Mara, keep planning your next adventures, and we'll see you back on the road very, very soon.